Back in 2008, I got very sick, and I either had a very serious case of bronchitis or strep throat, and my doctor at that time encouraged me not just to take a few days off work, but to stay home and rest for an entire week, which was very hard for me. I liked my job a lot at the time. I didn't want to be home, but I decided to take his advice, and that's what I did. I stayed out of work for an entire week. At the time, I was a branch manager at Wells Fargo, and we had a lot of goals and metrics and things that we tracked, but two of these goals stood apart from all the rest. And what I decided at that time, or had been deciding for many months before the sickness happened, is that I wanted to put these big thermometers up on the wall. I was buying poster board. Each month we would start a fresh one that was blank. We would draw the thermometer for these two goals. And then every day I would color in the thermometer as the morning reports came out and showed us where we were percent to goal for the month. We had a line for 100%, 110%, 120 or 25%. And at that point, if we reached that, where the thermometer was overflowing with the red mercury, I would take the branch to dinner, or I would buy the entire branch lunch. And we were doing very well at that time. And I remember having to buy a lot of dinners and a lot of lunches. And I also remember we were using a lot of markers. We would color them in with these bright red markers. We were buying them in packs of 8 or 10, and we kept having to buy more and more of them because I was doing so much coloring in of the thermometers. I want to point out that this was my thing. I did not share this duty with anyone else at the branch. Everyone kind of got a kick out of it. I would get up on the step stool, especially as the month went on, and I had to draw higher and higher up on the board. And I would stand there every morning when the reports came out and color in the thermometers. The biggest reason that I didn't want to be out of work for a week is that I believed that in my absence, there would be nobody to color in the thermometers. And my concern also was that without the thermometers showing us where we were percent to goal, we wouldn't do as well. The branch wouldn't be able to execute as well as it was in my presence. This is a concept that I still believe in to this day. It's a concept from 4DX. It's called Keep a Compelling Scoreboard. There's a lot that goes into that with a player's scoreboard and a coach's scoreboard, but the basic concept is have a scoreboard that shows you where you're at and be able to understand it in 3 seconds or less, just like you would a scoreboard at a sports game. And these thermometers did that. They were very cool. You could see in an instant, are we on track? Are we ahead? Are we behind? And I was very proud of my branch at the time I got sick. We were ahead of pace to hit over 120% of goal. We were doing great. And my fear was, without me doing the thermometers, we're not going to do as well. When I got back to work a week later, after I had recovered from my sickness, I had a couple of surprises. First, what I found out was that the thermometers had been colored in. And I remember going to my assistant manager and saying, Loretta, what happened? And Loretta said, well, they knew that this is your thing and that you always do it, but they all said, we got to do it for her. Amy's gone and she's not here, but she would color in the thermometers. And so in her absence, it's going to fall on us to color in the thermometers. And they all took turns doing it. And so the thermometers got colored in. And I also had the surprise of realizing that not only had the team colored in the thermometers, but they had also been leading the morning huddles. That was kind of my job at the time. I would facilitate and run our morning meeting every single day. And what I found out was that the team had gone ahead and had those anyway in my absence. They had gone forward, had the meetings, led them themselves. And so to my surprise, the results had not only not gotten worse, they had gotten better. My team actually performed better while I was away. And there's a lot of reasons that we could say are causing that. Potentially one of them is I'm not a very good manager and the team just does better in my absence. But another possible explanation that I decided to have at that time was that, and this is what I realized, was that the team liked being involved. When I was gone, they had made the decision to step up and run the morning meeting and color in these thermometers. And that helped them feel more empowered, more accountable, and have more ownership over our goals and our success. It led them to have more skin in the game. And this became the underpinnings of my entire strategy and leadership. There was a profound shift in me after I got back from being sick, and I made a decision to stop coloring in the thermometers and to stop leading the morning huddles. What I told my team was, you guys can do it. I want you to do it. And I'm going to be here for all of it. And I'll just observe and give feedback if and when necessary. But I want you guys to do this. You did a better job of it than I was doing. And what I realized after I made that shift and that transition is that teams perform better when people are involved, they're engaged, they're empowered, and they are able to have that skin in the game and take ownership over their own results and their success. And by the way, this is a huge concept in my book that's going to soon be coming out. It's basically my entire second chapter, and it dovetails really well with the book Multipliers from Liz Wiseman. And I have very well cited her and referenced her in my book because it's one of the best leadership books I've ever read, and some of my concepts came from that book. But ultimately, if you're in leadership, your job is not to do things and to own things yourself. Your job is to unleash potential, talent, and greatness in other people. And this can be very hard for us as leaders. We feel like, okay, I'm in the position of leadership and authority and power. I should be the one to do X, Y, or Z. It should be me. And that's just not right. Leadership is all about getting things done through other people. The situation with these thermometers, my team stepped up and got really into doing that and excited about doing it. And as that happened, they felt more responsible for making sure we were successful. And I never went back from that. One thing that's really cool to note is that if I had not gotten sick and had been forced to be out of work for a whole week, I might not have ever had this discovery that people do better when they're engaged and empowered and involved and asked to step up. So it was kind of a fun, happy coincidence that something that could have been seen as struggle or problematic actually turned into one of the greatest discoveries I had of all time. Final thought on this. If you don't, I don't know what the thermometer is in your business, but if you can figure out what your thermometers are, do that. If you can find a way to empower someone and to engage someone, not just to delegate, but to empower and engage and enlist them in anything, whether it be coloring a thermometer, running a meeting, being responsible for some sort of metric, do it. We give people keys to the front door, keys to the vaults. We give them combinations to various things around the building. We give people access to proprietary data. We let them take their laptops home. Why wouldn't we trust them enough to empower and engage them to do things for us? So figure out, again, it's a metaphor, an analogy. What are the thermometers in your business where you can enlist, engage, and empower people to take more ownership? If you do it, I guarantee you will be more successful as a leader. With that, everybody make a great day. Thanks.